Okay, sorry.
Very nice. Very nice.
What note was that?
D. But here's what relative pitch is. All you have to have is one resource, and then you know your intervals so well that you can develop the relative pitch so quickly as if I give you that note and any other note anywhere else on the piano, you can identify the second note. As long as I tell you the first time, the first note I'm going to play you is the G. Okay? Mm-hmm. Now, my sister did two different things that helped her with her relative pitch. She was an oboist, and the oboe tunes the orchestra or tunes the band, and so she had to play an A440 every time she got the instrument out. And then sometimes she had to play the B flat for the rest of the winds. So she got to where she could pick out an A anytime she wanted to. If, in other words, she had it down to, if she heard a pitch, it was either an A or something else. And if it was something else, then she could go to her A in her head and figure out from there what that was, and could tell you that probably as fast as I could mumble the answer anyway. The other thing that she could do, she was a soprano as a singer, and her absolute lowest pitch that she could even croak was a G under the staff. She couldn't really sing that pitch on a vowel by any means because it was way out of her soprano range, but she could growl a G. If she tried to growl an F, it just wouldn't come out. So she could also relate it very quickly. If she's asked what that note is, she growls the G, compares that to what she heard, and tells you immediately what it is. So she is much more impressive than people who have perfect pitch. People with perfect pitch sometimes have more trouble because they have trouble discounting pitch. What apparently you folks have the ability to do that I wish I had the ability to do is to, after you've heard a certain sound for a while, you can put it out of your mind. One of the things that used to drive me nuts at McCain, we would practice in 206, a string quartet, and of course we all tuned to A for the string quartet. But the lights in McCain hum at a B flat. The other string players, who were all much better than me because they had better skill than me, would come in, and in just a few moments the buzzing lights were nowhere in their radar anywhere, and they could tune to an E just fine, or an A, sorry, A just fine. But I'm still dealing with that B flat that will not leave me alone, and I just can't ever get rid of that or make it a non-pitch. Which is sometimes a real pain in the neck. We are so lucky to now have this new room without those, I don't know if you remember the two heaters that sat right here. They were two G-flat heaters that just drove me nuts. And some, the jazz band could play loud enough that I could not hear it. But before long, as soon as you cut off, even, the rest of you may not hear that anymore because you have some way of tuning it out, I guess. But as soon as I'd cut the jazz band off, there'd be this G flat that didn't usually belong to the chord we just finished. And I always have wished that I could tune things out. I'm going deaf now, and I'm really expecting that surely the heater sounds and the light sounds will be the first things to go. But probably not. They'll be the last things to go.
No.
But I don't know. Anyway, now, here's what I'm going to see if we can do here. We're looking at the top of page 11. And I'm going to give you this pitch right here and tell you this is G. This is G. And if you need to know where that G is, it's underneath the line, two ledger lines in treble clef, or it's on the fourth space, G for bass clef, all right? That's what that is. I'm going to play that before I play any of these other notes, and I want you to compare them and see if you can make a better guess at which ones I'm playing. All right? So there's your G. Now I'm going to play one of the examples on page 11. 10 it was. Very good. Is that what you were going to say, Doc?
I was going to say 2.
Okay, 2, let's see. 2 would have been close. Now, let's do this. Let me compare this. There's your G. Now, here's what 2 would have sounded like. The last 2 notes would have been the same, wouldn't they? It was just the first note that was the only one different. So 2 would have been a reasonably good answer. All right, I'm going to do it again. Here's your G. And now I'm going to pick another set. Yes?
3.
3 is correct. Very good. All right. Now I'm going to pick one of the 4 tones, which this means that it limits it to either 7, 8, 9, or no, that's it. 7, 8, or 9.
And 4.
Or 4, sorry. All right. Here's your G again. Four it was. Very good. All right, let's do it again. Now I'm going to give you some treble clef stuff. I guess why though? Look at this. There's not a single treble clef person except for Sam Cam. Sorry, I forgot about Sam Cam.
Cam Sam.
Cam Sam.
No, I've got it. Okay.
But you're probably really low alto, aren't you? All right. Here's the G up in the treble clef. All right. See if you can find a treble clef that sounds like this. Go ahead, Chris. 6 is correct. Very good. Try another one in treble clef. That's your G. Chris found 11? Very good. All right. All right, that was good. Now, we're supposed to talk about clefs. Yesterday, you found out that we made clefs originally to be movable. And we only talked about the treble clef yesterday. But I don't want to ruin the fun for those of you who weren't here yesterday not to get to go to see the YouTube. So I won't talk about the treble clef other than it is also a movable clef. This is back in the 14 and 1500s, and we actually, I don't know if we did it, I suggested perhaps that they were a little bit smarter than us because they were able to move all their clefs. But then we decided they didn't have computers or anything else to fool with, and I'm sure Halo wasn't out yet. So all they had to do was just sit around and do music. So, I mean, that's probably why they were so much smarter than us. But the bass clef, you start by making a little football. And remember, this is like the whole notes and note heads that we make. They are ever so slightly an oval, not a round thing. And it goes from left at the bottom to right at the top. But anyway, you make that, and then you make this circle that comes out, and I was supposed to hit the top line, and I missed. But then there's a little dot on both sides of the fourth line, which gives this bass clef sign also the nickname of
F.
F clef. Yes, you've heard that before. Yes? No?
Oui.
Okay. Well, it's called the F clef. And it's called the F clef because it used to move. Nowadays, we'd be in a whole lot of trouble if we handed out a piece of music to our basses in the choir or our tubas and trombones in the orchestra, and we moved this. But what this really meant before we standardized it there is wherever these two dots are is F. All right, so they could write a song like this. Now, tell me what the advantage would be of doing it that way.
You can write it higher without using letter.
That's right. We've actually moved the focal point F from here clear down to here. That means if we're writing trombone music that is really high,
Like the concert
C's.
piece.
yeah, like
Just piece.
in this clef, let's say we were going to write that E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E. It would only be right there. In other words, you could write the trombone part, you could write the lead trombone of jazz part in in the staff, and you wouldn't have to draw a single, line. This would be kind of a little bit more difficult, but what if we did that?
You play
Bass trombone part wouldn't have to have the low C's, low B flats, low A's, all of those ledger lines be underneath the staff. It would draw them up. The tuba part could be drawn up, okay? So that's what the bass clef used to look like. And then, like I said, once Halo was invented, we decided to just make it a standard spot. Don't ever move it. If the notes get too high, we'll write ledger lines. If the note gets too low, we'll write ledger lines. And that's the bass clef.